Great. So we shall get started with the webinar right now. So as I mentioned, the topic for this webinar is IAM and PAM and why they are a crucial factor for your identity security strategy. So these are the brief points that we are going to cover in this webinar, starting from a bit introduction about miniOrange, the product portfolio. Will answer the crucial question of how IAM and PAM play a huge role in your security strategy. Then we also have arranged a live demo of all the features, functionalities that we are going to discuss for IAM as well as PAM. And I am Mahesh. I am working as a senior business analyst and technology consultant with miniOrange. I have Aditya with me, who is our PAM specialist. So let's get started with the company. We have been into this business for more than 12 years. And very recently, we crossed a global mark of 20,000 plus customers who we are serving in more than 100 plus countries. So we have built integrations with 6,000 plus applications and 50 plus products to make sure that we have solutions to each and every identity related challenges or problems that any organization of any size is facing. miniOrange, it is a complete identity and access management solution provider, and we cater to both parts of IAM, which is your workforce, that is your employees, as well as your customer. It can be your consumers, guest users, partners, anything apart from your employees. So the core 4 features of IAM are single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, user lifecycle management, as well as adaptive authentication. We are going to dig deep into each of these functionalities as we move forward. But if I talk about IAM, at core, IAM is consistent of 4 A's, which are administration, authentication, authorization, and auditing. These are the major 4 components of IAM. And for the deployment options, we have both on-premise as well as cloud solutions. You can have multiple architectures. You can have a DCDR setup. We have multiple data centers for our cloud solution. So if I talk about a IAM solution, it is a hub and spoke model. Hub is where the users are stored. Your policies are managed. Your complete user management is done. And Spock is your application integrations. Now, this is the part where miniOrange has an edge for the application integration, where any kind of application that you bring forth to the table can be integrated. So our concept of building the solution was your complete application suite needs to be integrated with a single IAM system. So to answer the crucial question of why integrating PAM and IAM is crucial, because you might have observed that there are a lot of processes that your managers, your application owners, or any team owners have to be performing on a daily basis just for providing the right set of access. Okay, so these all access management features can be done within a single click in an automated way, and you don't have to wait for a week or 2 weeks for this process to take place, which is prone to a lot of manual errors. Apart from that, having IAM and PAM is going to enhance your security posture, because once you do centralized management, you are going to reduce the cyber attack surface, right? Because the more the attack surface you keep, the more vulnerable you are. So once you centralized everything, you will unify it. You'll cut your operational costs, and with all the capabilities like auditing, reporting, so the visibility as well as the monitoring of your access becomes really easy. And at the end, there are some gaps of IAM wherein for your privileged users who have access to the sensitive data, those are closed using the PAM solution. So the whole concept of this webinar is to create a future-proof security strategy for your organization. So if you look at IAM from a top view, this is the landscape that you will be looking at. On the right hand side, you can see the your authentication source, which can be any place where your credentials are stored. On the top, you can see all the policies that the IAM solution is going to implement, which is your multi-factor authentication, adaptive authentication. On the left, what you can see is the security standards that are going to be used in the integration. So those are protocols like SAML, OAuth, LDAP, and many more. And on the bottom, you can see your application integrations, wherein it is going to manage the access using the above policies for all the applications. So now moving towards what is the path that an organization needs to take to get to the future-proof security strategy is this. So you start with single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, adaptive authentication, as well as user provisioning. So we'll cover each part one by one. So talking about single sign-on as the first part, it is your user management. Okay, in the typical organization where you are using 15, 20, 100 applications, you will have to manage 100 set of user credentials for all your users, managing the passwords, usernames, password requests. It is a whole cumbersome process. So what single sign-on does is that you have one set of credentials for each and every application. So regardless of that application being on-premise, web, like cloud, mobile application, in-house application, legacy, any kind of application you have, we'll make sure that is integrated. For that, we have multiple protocols, SAML, OAuth, which are security standard protocols. Apart from that, we have header-based solutions, cookie solutions, proxy-based solutions to make sure that your application suite is integrated. A special mention here is about your in-house applications. So we have connectors available for applications who are built in technologies like Java, .NET, PHP. So any of these your homegrown applications, you can simply connect using our out-of-the-box connectors. Also, some applications like Oracle eBusiness Suite, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, Microsoft Dynamics. So we have out-of-the-box solutions for all those applications. So now there has been a recent trend wherein passwordless authentication has come to a boom. Okay? So passwordless authentication is where your first factor becomes your username and multi-factor authentication. So essentially you are getting rid of the passwords and the complete burden of password management is eliminated with the passwordless authentication. So the user experience becomes very seamless. It is very easy to use, and for the admin also the overhead reduces by a significant margin. Moving on to the next part of our security ecosystem, which is multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication, our solution is holistic, and what I mean by that is all the entry points from where a user can get access to your company resources, data, or anything can be protected with a single MFA system. So the typical entry points are your VPN, your switches, routers, firewalls, your applications, your email, CRM, any kind of applications, as well as devices. And devices can be your Windows, Apple, Linux, either desktop logins or RDP, SSH, any of them. So you're going to have a single MFA, a single console for each and every, which is like securing your complete perimeter with a single console. And for that, we have multiple MFA methods with your traditional methods like SMS, email, newer methods like push notifications, QR code scanners, authenticator apps, FIDO authentication, hardware tokens, and many more methods. Also, before moving ahead, I wanted to mention one thing that on your screen, you might see an option to raise some questions. So you can feel free to raise the questions at any given point of time. Our team of experts is there in the meeting as well. They will answer all your questions. Or else at the end, we are going to have a dedicated Q&A session wherein you can get answer to all your questions. Moving ahead with adaptive authentication. Now, on top of the standard MFA policies, we can have one more layer of restriction to manage the user access to your applications. So these restrictions can be based on conditional policies, and the policies are based on your IP, the time of access, the device, as well as the location. So you can simply restrict, like blacklist or whitelist a specific range of IPs, You can define the time of access for your users. For device restriction, cases like all my employees should be able to access my applications only on the company owned devices and not on your personal devices. Okay, I can do that based on the MAC address of the machine, number of registered devices, and many more ways. And then the last part is simply geolocation. So you can make any combination of these policies according to the security requirement or security standards that you want to apply in the organization. Moving on to the last part of IAM is user provisioning. So user provisioning is also called as user lifecycle management, wherein the complete life cycle from the user joining the organization to any internal movement until he leaves the organization is managed. So what happens in a typical or a orthodox environment is when the user comes in, there is one admin or a HR person who has to manually go and create the user in each and every target application. So this process becomes very tedious. It takes 10 to 15 days for giving one user the right level of access to just start working. Okay, so this complete process can be automated within a single click, wherein as soon as the user joins in the organization, okay, you'll already have some policies defined in miniOrange. So the policies can be defined on the role, the designation, or the team, or anything. So as soon as the user joins, you assign a role or a designation to that user, and based on that role or the designation, the user will be created in the target applications, right? So what we say, if the user joins the organization at 9 a.m., he will be ready with the right level of access at 9:15 a.m. Okay, so this is completely automated, and this is not only limited to your user creation, it is for your user updation and deletion as well. So any internal movement, if he changes the team, if he changes the role, all those things are done within a single click and in an automated manner. Also, at any given point, all these changes are going to be synced with your Active Directory. So at every point, your HRMS system, your Active Directory, your target applications are going to be in a sync. Okay. So to give you a high-level overview or a brief of what we discussed about IAM, IAM consists of 4 A's, which is administration, authentication, authorization, and auditing. Okay, so these were the 4 parts that we covered, wherein using user provisioning, you are going to the user administration. For single sign-on and multi-factor authentication, you are covering the authentication as well as the authorization part. And for all these activities, you will be having reports, audits, records, and everything. So that's how we are going to cover the 4 essential A's of IAM solution. Now for our audience, we have got a quick poll that is going to pop up on your screen. So you can simply participate in that poll. So we'll wait for 30 seconds for the audience to answer to the questions. If you have any questions regarding the polls, any doubts, feel free to put your questions on the screen. And once this polls part is done, we are going to move on to the actual live demo, wherein we are going to see how all those things that we mentioned in theory do perform in actual world. So we'll wait for another 30 seconds and then move on to the actual demo. Okay, thank you audience for your great participation in the poll. We are closing the poll window and then we'll now move on to the actual live demo. What we have set up is single sign-on, multi-factor authentication for some standard applications like your email, CRM. So we'll show you in action how that works. What is the user experience going to look like? And then we'll move on to the admin side of things. How easy is it for the admin to do the configuration, installation, and all those processes? So let's get started. So if I talk about single sign-on, there are 2 ways how a user can perform single sign-on. So the 2 ways are where the user can land directly to the application first, or he can go to the miniOrange console. So let's see I have configured office.com, and if I go as an end user, if I go directly to office.com and I click on sign in, I'll just enter my email or username, whatever I have configured. So based on that, as it is already federated that we have and we built trust, it is going to redirect me to the login page of my IDP. So this again, login page can be completely customizable. You can have your own logo, look and feel to match your organization's theme. So let me just enter my password. So this first factor authentication is going to happen from my Active Directory. Okay, these are my AD credentials. And after successfully validating, so as you see, it is going to prompt me for two-factor authentication. Here I'll select Google Authenticator. There are many more methods here which I'll present you when we move on to the admin side of things. So for now, I'll select Google Authenticator. Let me just enter the code that I have received. There you go. It's as easy and seamless as this for the authentication and authorization. Now, once my user has logged in successfully, what miniOrange does is that it creates a session for that user, and any application that you try to access after this, you'll not have to enter the credentials each and every time. So let's just try that. If I go to my second application, which is Salesforce. So these are just sample applications that we have considered, which are some common applications. And if I click on login with our demo instance, as you see, it is going to give me access directly and not ask me to enter my credentials again. And you can verify that the same user, which is our IDP demo as well as IDP demo, has logged in into Salesforce as well. So any n number of applications that you configure using the IAM solutions, the user experience is going to be very seamless, and the password management, user management is going to be very easy. So as I mentioned, there is one more way how the user is going to land to your application, which is directly to the miniOrange or your IDP console. So let us see what it looks like. So this is a self-service console where each and user will get access to using their authentication source credentials. All the applications that the admin has configured and the applications for which the user has access to only will be visible here. Okay, so from here I can simply click on any of the cards of the application that I want to access, and I'll be redirected to my target application. Apart from accessing applications, we have multiple more features here, which is for setting up my 2FA. You can change your password. All password requests can be eliminated. I can password back to the Active Directory and edit my profile. More options are there using this console. All right. So this is the part for the end users where they will get access to the application. How easy it becomes for the end user to access the application, the unified dashboard, credentials, unique credentials. So in the whole process, it becomes very seamless using SSO and multi-factor authentication. And our MFA, as I mentioned, it is not only limited to your applications, but you can have it for your VPNs, networking devices, logins, RDP, in-house applications, and many more. So let us move on to the admin side of things as to how easy it is for the admin to configure all those things. So let me log in with the admin credentials. So there you go. Each and every functionality that I had mentioned during the presentation and the complete demo that I presented you just before has been configured from this single dashboard itself. So if you see on the left side, there are multiple components in this admin dashboard. The first two parts, which is identity providers and external directories, are for my authentication source. So let's say my users are stored in Active Directory. I can simply come to the directory section, add my directory using LDAP protocol. So for that, you can connect to a specific OU, a specific security group, or the complete domain. It is up to you. Okay, you have your users stored in an existing identity provider. Then you can simply use it, connect with miniOrange using standard protocols like SAML, OAuth, or many more. Now, once my authentication source has been enabled, we move on to the applications part. So all your configured applications will be visible here. If you simply go to add application, all the web applications or on-premise applications that you might encounter are mostly supporting SAML, OAuth, OIDC or JWT. Okay, for that we have connectors and other methods as well. For any of your networking devices, VPN, firewalls, switches, we have the Radius server capabilities. And for enabling multi-factor authentication for your Windows, Linux, Mac devices, we have desktop. Apart from this, there are multiple more. We support ACAX for your switches, routers. We have provisioning. We have support for SCIM protocol and many more. And the process of configuring the application is very easy. I can show you one sample application. We have integration with more than 6,000 apps here. I can simply go to Office 365 and enter my basic details and it is ready to use. The integration process is really easy. Now, once my authentication source and my target applications have been configured, the central IAMPs can place multiple policies on top of it. So starting with two-factor authentication. For that, we support more than 15 plus methods, which includes OTP over SMS, SMS link. We support OTP over email, email link, all the third-party authenticator apps, Google, Microsoft, Authy, we have support for them. We have got our own authentic app which supports soft token, push notifications, there is QR code authentication, call verification. We have integration with hardware tokens like YubiKey, display tokens. We also support security questions as well as biometric. So your methods like Face ID, PIN, password, fingerprint, Touch ID, all those can be integrated using miniOrange. The next part of your policies is adaptive authentication, which is also called as conditional based access. So these access can be based on the IP, the device, the location, as well as the time of access. So if you look, if I go and create a policy, I can whitelist or blacklist a specific range of IPs. Similarly, I can define the number of devices that are allowed to do the registration, as well as if I want restriction based on the MAC address of the device. Again, you can create multiple policies or based groups based on the users to make sure that the utmost level of standards are being followed in the organization. So talking about provisioning, also called as lifecycle management, we discussed that multiple operations which can be performed in provisioning. Okay, so those operations are importing, create, edit, delete, password sync, account enable, disable, and many more. And this is not only on the user level, but on the group level as well. This works in of truth where your identities are stored to any of your target applications. All these operations can be performed. So this is the major highlight of the configuration part. Now we move on to the user management. So all your users will be visible here, and the admin operations for the users, such as editing the user, change the second factor, password reset, reset template, delete user, disable user, all these admin operations can be simply performed with this intuitive UI. Okay, and apart from this, you can get multiple user roles based on what kind of permissions you want to assign to that user role. So I'll show you the user role. Multiple custom user roles can be defined, and each user role will be having their own capabilities. All right, so that is how I do the user management part. Then comes the group section. So groups are just some logical partitions of the users, and these logical partitions can be based on the role, the designation, or anything that you have in the organization. Now, where do these groups come handy is once I create those groups, I assign those appropriate users to that specific group. Then I will go to the policies section. I simply go to add policy, select my application, let's say Office 365. I'll select the group that I have created, for example, ABC. So the users who are present in the group ABC only will be able to access my application Office 365. Okay? So that's how we perform the group-based access policies, And this everything is governed by a simple concept called as just enough access. So the user needs to have access to only the applications that are required for him to work in the company. Okay. So on top of this, as I mentioned, there is passwordless login as well as password-based methods. You can enable MFA, adaptive authentication, and all those. So you can create multiple policies for each group, each application, and many more. And the last section of the dashboard, as well as the last section of the 4 A's that we discussed earlier, which is my auditing, is covered in the report section. So if I go into the reports and look for my detailed authentication report, I'll show you one sample report. So you can see here complete detailed logs of each user trying to access at what time, what type of authentication he's trying to do, from what IP he's trying to access is being audited here. You can get the reports for a specific date range, for a specific user, for a specific application, anything. I can also show you one more report, which is for my radius. So if I simply go and search for the reports, as you can see, these are very detailed reports, whereas to which application, what were the attributes of that request, or what was the status of that request. Everything is tracked here, and you can always download these reports in a CSV, PDF, whatever it is required for auditing purpose, compliance purpose, or anything. And all your admin operations are also audited. So even if an admin comes and adds an application, he edits a user, adds a user, deletes a user, creates a new policy, each and everything is going to be tracked in the central IAM system. So this was about it regarding the admin dashboards. So in the live, we covered the end user experience. We covered the experience for a couple of applications wherein we showed how single sign-on works, how multi-factor authentication comes into play. Then we covered the admin side of things for your application integrations, authentication source, the policies that the IAM solution can put on top of that, how your user management is done, and how you can get the reports of all these activities. If you have any questions, feel free to post it in the section that you see on your front screen. Now, once all these things that we discussed till now, all the features and functionalities of IAM solution are for my complete workforce, that is for my all the employees. But there is one specific set of users who have access to very limited data or sensitive data of the organization. So those are called as the privileged users. So for that, we have a privileged access management solution. So let's go back to the presentation, wherein now we move on to the privileged access management, wherein the users who have access to your servers, it can be your application servers or any in-house servers, the users who have access to your critical applications or the databases, now those need to be given fine-grained access control as to what level of permissions are provided inside the application. Okay, and the credential management for those applications is very crucial. So for that, we have password vaulting. So password vaulting means that the user who is trying to access the end asset or end resource is never going to know the actual password of it. He will just have the username, password, or the credentials for the PAM dashboard, and he will never be able to access my actual asset directly. Okay, for that we have our own password vault, or we can integrate with any third-party password vault as well. Audit trails. Each and every action that the user performs in my PAM or my servers or anything that is connected with the PAM solution is going to be audited. You will have alerts for suspicious activities. You can authorize what kind of activities can each user perform. And for the PAM, again, the crucial part comes the session management. So each and every activity is going to be recorded. You can view the user session in real time. You can destroy the user session in real time. All the recordings are available. You can search in the recordings. You can search for a specific command in the recordings, and the access control that you provide through a PAM solution is so fine-grained that you can define this specific user role should not be able to access a delete command or a truncate command, but this user can access or use this command on my database. So that level of access control at that level of in-depth integration is done using the PAM solution. So we have a quick poll one more time for the audience. The poll is going to pop up on your screen, and right after the poll, we will move on to the live demo of the PAM solution as well. In a matter of time, you will see the poll. We will encourage you to participate in the poll. So there are going to be 2 polls for each one of you. We'll wait for last 15 seconds and then we'll move on to the PAM demo. Great. Thank you, audience, again for a overwhelming response on our polls. We'll move on to the PAM demo. I am handing it over to my colleague and our PAM specialist, Aditya, for the PAM demo. Aditya, over to you.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. This is Aditya. I work as a senior software engineer at miniOrange and take care of the product related to PAM. So, hope my screen is visible to you. Okay. So, this is our PAM dashboard. And here, as you can see on the dashboard itself, you get a brief graphical representation of different components that we have. So as I explained, password vault is one of the critical aspects of PAM, which it's used for storing your privileged credentials. So this is what we call system users that belongs to your target's system. So to onboard any system user, you have to provide some basic details like display name of the user, username of the user, and then the password. If the credential is key-based, in that case, you can provide the content of your key, or you can just upload the key from here as well. So for the demo part, I have added a few of the system users here. So these credentials get stored in the password vault. We use standard encryption algorithm to encrypt them and store it securely. Now, next we have assets. So this includes your resources that suppose protocols like SSH, RDP, VNC, or even Telnet. To onboard any asset, again, you have to provide some details like port on which your specific service is running, the IP address, and next you get to choose which set of credentials that you want to use for accessing those resources. To give you an idea, I have added this SS server, as you can see. So this is the IP address, the port, and here's the credential that I'm going to use. Now, once you onboard your asset, you can provide access to any user who is present on this dashboard. So to provide access, you can just go to options and allocate. And here you see the list of users who can access these resources. So you can choose a user, or even you can choose a group or a role. So once you allocate to a group or a role, all the users belonging to that specific group or role will get access to the specific resource. So let's try to provide access to a specific user. So once I try to allocate here, I get to choose a time window for which I want to allow access. So it can be a day, a week, or a month, or a year. You can define it based on your use case. And then you choose which specific credential through which the user should be allowed to access the resource. So I can just confirm it. Now this specific user has been granted access to access this SSH application that we had. Once access is granted, user can go to their My Assets section, and from here, they will be able to find the list of all the assets they have been granted access to. So let's just try to access this specific SS machine that we have. So all the user have to do is just go to My Assets and click on Access button. Now what it does is that it fetches the privileged credentials that we have stored inside our password vault, and it creates a secure SS session for us in the browser itself. So here, as you can see, we have been given access to our SS server. And if I try to execute some command, you can see that we can get the result here. And your user experience is exactly like any standard client. For example, Movax, Termputty, or even your terminal. Now, auditing and monitoring is one of the key aspects of PAM. So considering that we have a dedicated dashboard. So if I switch to audit dashboard here, under reports, I can find asset access report. This covers the audit of each and every access of different assets that we have. So for now, as you can see, this access machine was accessed by the admin user from this IP address, successfully accessed at this specific time. And if I go to the details of it, here you will be able to find the commands that were executed by the user, along with their status as well as the timestamp when they were accessed. So you get full insight about which specific user accessed what type of resources and what kind of activities that were performed by the user. Next, we have sessions. So this includes real-time sessions. So here, as an admin, I can see that this access machine is being accessed by this specific user. And if I try to view, so I will be able to see the exact screen of user. To give you an idea, let me just split the screen half. Yeah. So on the left-hand side, as you can see, I'm accessing this SS server. On the right-hand side is the live stream of it. So if I try to run a command here, as you can see, as an admin here, I can see the exact screen of user. And if I find anything malicious, I can just terminate the session from here. The session will be terminated for the user. Next, we have recorded sessions. So each and every access of resources that we have, we record it. And as an admin, you can come over here, you can review the session. So this helps you in case of forensic purpose or just to figure out what kind of activities was performed by a specific user. Here in the right hand side, you can search to a specific command and just click and jump to that specific timestamp. So this covers the SSS asset that we had. Similarly, we can add a RDP asset as well. So let me just show how the access for the RDP application will look like. So again, you just have to click on access once the access has been provided to you, to the user, and this will fetch the credential and log them inside the RDP. So as you can see, I'm logged in here. I can perform any sort of operation on the RDP server. Under auditing, again, we will have audit for this specific application as well, RDP here. We will have recorded as well as real-time sessions for this RDP server as well. So you can see we open this browser, and in the real-time session, we can see that the browser is opened by the user. Moving next, we have applications. So this includes different type of databases. Can be your Postgres, MySQL, MS SQL, SAP HANA. So any central database that you have can be integrated with our applications. So here, again, for the configuration, you have to provide the port, the IP address, and the credential through which you want to allow access. Allocation is, again, similar here as well. You just have two options, allocate, and you can choose a user whom you want to grant access to. You can define a time window, or even you can provide access for lifelong allocation. So user will get access forever, and you can just confirm it from here. As an end user, they can just go to my app section. They will find the list of applications they have been granted to, and they can just click on access to log into your database server. Here, I can run any database specific commands. As you can see, we get tabular-based results on the browser itself. So again, for applications as well, we will have auditing, which includes the app access report here. So you can find the list of commands that we executed along with their status. We will have real-time sessions. As you can see, this application is being accessed by the user as well as recorded sessions. Moving next, we have web applications. So this includes any kind of web application, be it your in-house application or any SaaS-based application. So to configure it, you have just to provide some details like login page URL, username field, password field, and choose the credential through which you want to access. Once you do that, you can allocate to user, set of user, group, or a role. And under my web apps, user can find the list of applications they have been granted access to. So here we have this AWS application that has been granted to the current user. So to access it, you just have to click on access button, and this will log them into the AWS application. So the credentials will be filled automatically, and then the session will be created for the user. Now, applications like AWS are critical to any organization. So you will have auditing for this so that you can find specific user access, what type of apps. You have real times as well as recorded sessions to get full insight about different type of operations being performed by your users or DevOps team. We have support for single sign-on. So if your users are presented any identity provider like miniOrange, so you can configure it with miniOrange to log in into this PAM dashboard. We have support for AD authentication as well, so you can authenticate your users against your Active Directory. We have support for device discovery as well. So how it works is that let's say you have some RDP servers that are added as a domain join to your Active Directory. So you can just add AD configuration here, and you can import those machines from here. So this will fetch all those machines that are added as a domain join and add it here. So you can see the result of the scan that we had. And from here, you can choose the specific devices that you want to onboard as an asset and associated system users as well. So these are the accounts that has access to your RDP servers that were linked to the Active Directory. So from here, you can onboard it. So in a single click, you can onboard all your assets or RDP servers that are added to your domain, added as a domain join to your Active Directory. Similarly, you can do a network scan as well. So you can define a range of IP address or a specific IP address, then define a range of port or a specific port, and you can import all the devices that are present in your network based on the configuration provided. Next, we have support for second factor authentication. So to log in into this dashboard, user will be prompted for the MFA, and after successful authentication only will be allowed to log in to this dashboard. On top of this, we have one feature called MFA over resource access. So what it does is that whenever any user try to access any one of your critical resources, for example, your production servers, so you can configure and enforce users to verify their MFA whenever they try to access your production servers. So this adds an extra layer of security for your critical resources. We have support for ticketing as well. So this is like just-in-time approval system. So how it works is that, let me just log in as an end user and raise a ticket for accessing a resource. So this is the end user dashboard. Here I can come to my tickets and create a ticket. Here I can choose the type of resource I want to have access to. I can choose the specific resource, and then I can choose the access time until which I want to have access, and then I can specify a reason here. I can just create a ticket. As an admin here, as you can see, I have received one request, so I can just review the details provided by the user, which specific application the user want to have access to, the specific reason provided, access from and access until time. I can approve or reject based on the details provided. So once I try to approve, I can override the details provided by the user. If user requested access for a month, I can modify it to be accessible for a week only. Once this is done, so as a end user, I will be able to access the specific resource. I can just go to assets, and from here, I can just click on access. Now this will provide me access to the specific resource. So again, here I can run any set of commands that I want, and we will have auditing, monitoring, as well as session recording for all the users who access different resources. For the vault configuration, so by default we have our own inbuilt password vault, but if you wish to use any third-party vault, for example GCP, AWS, Azure Key Vault, so you can configure it from here, and all your previous credentials will be stored to the specific vault. Since we are recording all the sessions of future, so by default we store at our server itself. So if you wish to utilize any one of these storage services, in that case you can configure it from here as well. On the audit dashboard, we have some additional audits as well, so which includes different type of applications, assets, or web apps being added, updated, or deleted. So you get full insight about which specific resource file was added, updated, or deleted by which specific user at what time. You can find details of what type of resource was accessed by which specific user, as well as which resource was granted access to a specific user. So allocation report as well. So we have this for apps, assets, as well as web apps. We have audit for each user logging in and logging out to the dashboard, audit for each ticket being raised by user, whether it was created, approved, or denied by the user. So you get full insight about it's in every activity of user that are performing on this dashboard. You can export these audits as well. So you can export them in a CSV format. You can generate a report in a PDF format as well. In terms of user management, so we have standard user operations, adding user, bulk upload of user, exporting user from the dashboard. We have roles and capabilities as well. So you can define your specific role, and on top of that, you can define what kind of capabilities that should be granted to a specific role. So, for example, let's say you have a database administrator role. So databases are managed under applications. So you can grant access only to apps. You can remove access to assets and web apps and define this capability to a specific role. And you can all the users belonging to this role will only have access to applications. So apps and my apps. They won't be able to see assets and web apps. So you can totally customize this dashboard based on the roles to control access provided to the user. You can white label this dashboard as well using your logo and favicon. We have this notification system added. So apart from notifying our dashboard, we send emails as well. So for that, you can configure your own SMTP configuration as well. So in terms of PAM, this is what we have to offer. If you have any questions, you can feel free to drop us in the chat. Over to you, Mahesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya, for the wonderful presentation. It was really insightful. You did touch base to a lot of crucial factors and the details of the PAM solution which are required in the implementation strategy, in understanding the scope of PAM and where exactly PAM fits. So that was really insightful. We'll move on to the last part of the presentation, wherein we highlight on some key features of miniOrange. So where you can see some of our major points include our deployment options. So we provide on-premise, multi-tenant, cloud. We have integrations with more than 6,000 applications out of the box. It can be any application, your in-house application, legacy application, web application, anything. And we have tailor-made solutions as well. So if you have your infrastructure already set up in whatever way it is, we'll make sure that our solution fits your infra according to your requirements. So if any customizations are required to be made on our side to make sure that the solution fits your requirement, we are more than happy to do that. The last part here is the ease of adoption, because we simply connect to your existing authentication source and leverage all the services on top of this. So there is no user migration, and onboarding the solution becomes really easy and convenient. Apart from that, we have been hugely focusing on the support factor as well. We have support in 24/7. We have more than 500 engineers who are working 24/7 supporting our global clients. Each and every customer of ours get a dedicated technical contact and a dedicated account manager. So at any given point of time, he or she is going to have a point of contact to reach out to the person for any questions, queries, support, issue, anything. And for everyone, we provide a 30-day free trial and a accessed set of our features. Apart from this, if you just search about miniOrange or Google miniOrange, you will see that the customers and people have been praising miniOrange on different platforms. They have been talking about the technology, the support, the ROI, the deployment practices, all the factors about miniOrange. And due to all these comments and ratings that customers have been talking about us, we have got multiple batches from G2, Capterra. Also recently Gartner Peer Insights included us in the customer first program, wherein we got this badge. And as a very latest news in this year itself, because of these customers who have been praising us on these review platforms, Gartner has placed us as a strong performer in the voice of the customer quadrant for the access management. So you can see that we are heads on with some big names that you can see here. And this quadrant means that the features, functionalities, the user satisfaction and the support has been up to the mark. The technology has been up to the mark at very considerable prices. Okay. And to talk about some customers that have been using miniOrange, we have a global presence. You name the customer, you name the country, you name the domain, and we have the references for it. These are some of them which we have highlighted here across different regions, different domains. We have widespread of customers in the Middle East, in UAE, Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, Bahrain. We have customers in Europe. We are working with big brand names like Airbus, Mercedes-Benz, Wipro, and many more. We have customers in India like the Oberoi Hotels, DBS Bank, Punjab National Bank. We have customers in the US like the Larsen and Toubro, US Customs and Border Protection, HP. So you see that there is whole different, a bag of customers, different domains that we are catering to. Because the problem of identities, managing the identities, is common to each and every domain. If your organization is having employees, you are going to have identities, then you need the IAM and PAM solution. Okay, and these are the building blocks of your security strategy, and they are a crucial factor in building that future-proof security strategy for your company. Thank you, audience, for being a part of this webinar. We really enjoyed hosting you. We hope that we have added value to you and you would be interested in a personalized demo or a personalized POC. We can definitely arrange that for you. You can always reach out to us at our email address, which is info@securify.com. You can see the email address on our screen. Now we have a special window only for Q&A. So feel free to raise any questions that you have. You might also see a hands option on your screen. You can simply click on that hands option. So that will raise a hand, and then we can enable you to have a conversation in this webinar itself. You can also post in your questions in the chat window that you see on your screen. So this is your time. Feel free to raise any questions that you have about the products, the features, functionalities. If you have any concerns or gaps with your existing IAM solution, feel free to utilize our experts in the IAM and PAM domain. Great. So we have been flooded with questions. We will be selecting questions according to the order that we have been receiving it. So the first question here was to explain the Gartner slide once again. What are the parameters on which we stand out? So let me just reshare my screen. We'll go back to that slide. So this is the slide that I mentioned. So this slide is especially for the access management solutions, and this voice of the customer quadrant is only because of what the customers have been talking about the product. So Gartner has done this survey, this research. They've been talking to the customers based on the reviews and ratings. So there are multiple parameters. There is no single one or two parameters, but multiple parameters have been taken into factor. They have made a score out of it, and based on that, placed the appropriate vendors in the quadrant. So you see there are some other names as well, some big names like Okta and Oracle, but miniOrange is heads on with all those names. It's just that those names are having some slightly higher user adoption because of the brand name. But if you talk about the technology, the support, we are up to the mark at much affordable prices. I hope that answers your question, Isa. So we have one more question from Pratima, which is, can MFA, SSO, adaptive authentication be opted as an individual module? Absolutely, Pratima. So the whole product that we showed you, it is a single product in itself with all the features, functionalities, but the licensing is modular. So if you want to opt in only for MFA or only for SSO or only for adaptive, you can absolutely do that, and you have to pay for only what you use. So to answer your question, yes, you can opt for the individual modules according to your requirements. Yes, Pratima. Greetings. How are you? You are saying something?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I have a question that audit reports can be pulled out from PAM feature.
Yes, absolutely. So you can have it in a PDF, a CSV, or any other format. If you also wish to schedule the reports for you, we can do it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So there is one more question regarding if I can connect someone from home or basically someone who is connecting remotely to the SaaS service. So we have answered to the question. So all assets can be accessed from the browser, and it works with any browser. It can be Chrome, Mozilla, any browser that you used. And for using that service, you don't need any additional plugins or any extension. That is going to happen from our solution itself. So very interesting questions. I would thank you again for those interesting questions. We've got one more question. Can we get the licensing models and pricing structure? Yes, Mohammed, definitely. As I mentioned, you can reach out to our email, which is info@securify.com. With the query, we can provide you with the detailed licensing model and the pricing for the same. So you can get the complete information from us. We can also schedule a one-on-one call with you to understand your requirements, what are the use cases that you're having, your problem statements, and accordingly work on your use case. If anyone wants to have a conversation right now, you can simply raise your hand and we can unmute you. We can discuss any problems, any challenges, anything that you would like to know more or additional about IAM. It is the time you can utilize it fully. So there is one question. I'll repeat. Can I connect suppliers to my organization with this solution? So definitely you can connect your suppliers or anyone who are not your employees for your organization using our solution. So there is one more request by Pratima. Pratima, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Actually, I wanted to ask that miniOrange is a software come hardware tool, or how it is? It is an agent solution.
So our solution is completely agentless and it is a software. Okay, and it is available both in on-premise as well as cloud options. Cloud is basically a SaaS offering. For on-premise, we can give you a recommendations for the hardware, for the server requirements, server specifications, and you can host it on your server.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratima. Others as well, if anyone would like to have a conversation right now, any questions, feel free to raise your hand. We can have a conversation right away. And in the meantime, I would like to thank you, each and every attendee that attended this session. I hope that was insightful for you. I hope we have added value and you've got crucial information about creating a security strategy for your company. Feel free to reach out to us for a detailed, personalized demo, your problem statements, and we'll help you with any identity-related challenges.
Could you please share your contact details, sir, so that we can save it?
Sure. I will share my email address with you all in the chat window. So I have shared a message in the chat window. You can reach out to me, or else I will also share the company email address. You can drop in an email to us with your queries, and we'll be more than happy to help you with any questions that you have. So we have got one more questions. Can I control and decide if the supplier can upload, download files in the session? Yes, absolutely you can, as answered by Aditya, that you can leverage the policies and have a complete control over which user is going to do any upload or download activities in the solution. Uh, so I guess there were a couple of questions from one person. If you want to have any conversation with us right now, feel free to raise the hand. We'll allow you to unmute and we can have a discussion right now as well. So we'll be closing the Q&A session in a couple of minutes. We'll be waiting here for last 2 to 3 minutes. If you have any questions, we are there. If you have any questions after this session, you can always drop in an email to us. You can connect with me or you can connect with Aditya on LinkedIn if you have any details. If you need any details regarding the IAM solution, you can connect with any one of us. So it is the last minute, guys. Feel free to throw your questions. If we might have missed any questions that you have put forth in the chat window, you'll definitely receive the answer on your email, and you can connect with our IAM experts in that fashion as well. Great. Thank you for being such a patient audience, and thank you for joining this webinar. Thank you from me. Thank you from Aditya and the complete miniOrange family for giving us this time and opportunity to present our solutions and answering your crucial questions. We really enjoyed this and hope you enjoyed too as well. Looking forward on connecting with you, and you'll be receiving our webinar invites for further webinars. You can feel free to subscribe and connect with the miniOrange team. Thank you, team.
Thank you.